Praise the Lord, brothers and sisters. I give all the glory to Yahushua today. He is my rock. He is so good. And my back is almost healed up. I'm back at work. I'm down here taking care of Grandma and Grandpa again. And so I want to share some things with you the Lord showed me last night and today. And I know that the Lord's been hinting towards this, but I wasn't sure. I just wanted to wait for him to say something. So I had a dream last night, and before I woke up, I heard the Lord speak. And he said, if I was going to show you a dream from the 1950s, I would show you the wall in Iraq. And I was looking at this scene of this old 1950s newspaper while he was speaking this. And it was like the headline news, and this old black and white picture in the middle. And then on the sides, you could see like a woman, 1950s, with her hair done, in the 1950s way. And it was something about cooking, like a recipe. And then there was just some like advertisements on the side of this and some other articles. Okay, I was interrupted. So I was looking at this old newspaper saying, the headlines I couldn't see because it was like old dark ink on the headline picture. And then just some advertisements of like a woman baking or something. She was advertising food. So, and that's kind of weird because the Lord's been telling me, just wait. Your food will be delivered to you. Okay, so anyway. Praise the Lord. So then I was, the next scene of the dream was I was at this boat lot with, and we were looking to hook up to a boat. We were in this truck, and it was this person that I know. I've never met them, but I've talked to him and his daughter from Facebook. And actually, his name is Rod, and his daughter's name is Rebecca. Now, Rebecca, you can look that up. She's famous in the Bible, okay? That's a whole nother thing. And Rod represents fishing. And then it was nighttime. We hooked up to the boat, and we were headed. It was nighttime, and it was drizzly raining. And we were headed to San Francisco, Oakland area. And I know they live in the Hayward, Oakland area. And we were headed there to go fishing. And we were going to San Francisco. I broke down. Then driving in truck after we had hooked up, found the fishing boat, headed to San Francisco, Oakland area with fishing boat attached. Rod and Rebecca from Facebook. Nighttime, raining, drizzling. And then I had to pee really bad. That always happens. I don't know if you guys have dreams and you have to use the bathroom or whatever. And I had a dream the devil wasn't trying to let me into the bathroom. There's something symbolic there, you guys. If anyone figures it out, let me know because I'm perplexed. Okay. So then I went, and the Lord knows me. He knows that I'm a research hound. I always have been. For years, instead of watching regular TV, I'd rather just get on there on the internet or read a book and just research history. I love history. Anything archaeology or anything like that. Dinosaurs, giants. And actually last night I was I had watched this giant movie about the giants and how they were just all over the world, and how the world and the Smithsonian, they'd covered it up, and how they found pyramids and giants in the Grand Canyon with Egyptian tablets. I've been researching that for years when that first came into the public light. And anyway, I'm just going on this whole thing. But I remember that they were kind of tracing it back to the fish god here. And the Lord's been showing me this a few times about this fish god and how it connects to the Pope. But here's a picture. The Babylon fish god. Oh, look, it says something fishy about the Pope's hat. See? Look at this. See the top of his hat? Looks like a fish. And then look at his fish hat. And get this one. Let me see if I can make it bigger. That dome thing he wears on his head with all that. He just creeps me out. Oh, and then I remembered I put that little video out yesterday. Did you guys see the Pope with Donald Trump and his family? And then I had all those... I couldn't help myself, you guys. I'm sorry if any of you were offended, but... and then because I had woke up and had a dream about that bossa nova. Like, I thought, Austin Powers? Why would I be having the theme song of Austin Powers in my head? That's kind of weird, because I hadn't even seen Austin Powers since I was like a teenager. And so I looked up the actual person that did the theme song for that. It was in the 50s or 60s, I believe. I think the 50s. Now that I put two and two together. And Nova, you know, that's a star. That's like a blue star or something. I don't know. It's another study. But yeah, so we have the Pope. Wow, why does it keep flashing the lions coming? Every time I go to another picture, it has a background, it flashes the lions coming. Okay. So here's an interesting, this is from Japan. There's the, look at, this one's really shady to look at, but it looks like, that is weird. Looks like a lamb's head in the sky. Then it looks like some weird tree, and then like a Jewish candle. That's so weird. Okay, anyway. Oh, did you see it? He's coming, the lion. Okay. So I wanted to talk about that. And then, so I typed in 1950s wall in Iraq, because the Lord said if I was going to show you a dream from the 1950s, I would show you the wall in Iraq. And this is what I found about it. 1958 Iraqi coup d'etat, or the Arab Cold War. Now, a coup is something, an inside job. Abdul Salam Arif and Abd al-Karim Qasim, the leaders of the revolution. It was this revolution. Overthrow of the Iraqi monarch, execution of King Faisal II and his family, execution of Prince Abd al-Allah, execution of the Prime Minister Nuri al-Said, end of the Hashemite dynasty in Iraq, end of the Arab Federation, and then it is establishment of the Republic of Iraq. So then it goes on to talk about 3 U.S. citizens killed, Jordanian officials killed, total 100 killed. So all these people were slaughtered, and it was an inside job. The 1950 Iraq coup d'etat, or the July 14th revolution, took place on July 14th in Iraq. resulting in the overthrow of the Hashemite monarchy established by King Faisal I in 1921 under the auspices of the British. King Faisal II, Prince Abdullah, and Prime Minister Nuri al-Said were executed during this coup. This coup laid the ideological foundations of Iraq that were to last until 2003. With Iraq becoming a de facto Arab nationalist and socialist one-party state. A result of the overthrow of the Iraqi Hashemite dynasty, the coup d'etat established the Republic of Iraq. This coup was followed by the overthrow of Abd al-Karim Qasim, who was then executed in the Ramadan Revolution. So here's the July 14th Revolution. Leaders of the July 14th Revolution in Iraq. It shows all of them. All the ones that led the revolution. Muhammad Nahib al-Rabi. On July 14th, a group that identified as the Free Officers, a secret military group led by Brigadier, overthrew the monarchy. This group was markedly pan-Arab in character. King Faisal II, Prince Abdullah were all killed. Now, these are old pictures of them. The mutilated corpses of Prince Abd al-Allah, Prime Minister Nuri al-Said. Arab text. Prince, this is what it says in Arab. Prince Ali hung and cut up. They were hung from a balcony and then cut up by shawarma knives. Pasha Nuri al-Said pulled around. I don't know. So the Free Officers were inspired by and modeled after the Egyptian Free Officers who overthrew the Egyptian monarchy in 1952. The Free Officers represented all parties and cut across political factions. Qasim was a member of the generation that had launched the revolution in Egypt and had grown up in an era where radicalism and pan-Arabism were circulating in schools, including high schools and military academies. As a group, most of the Free Officers were Sunni Arabs who came from a modern middle class. Iraq Free Officers were inspired by a number of events in the Middle East decade before 1952. The 1948 war against Israel was an experience that intensified the Egyptian Free Officers' sense of duty. They understood their mission as deposing the corrupt regimes that weakened a unified Arab nation and thrown their countries into distress. The Egyptian monarchy and seizing power in 1952 made Nasser into a source of inspiration for the Iraqi officers. So it just goes on. You could just read about it. There was some other, let's see. However, something about the Crown Prince. However, at approximately 8 a.m., the King Crown Prince, Princess Hayim, Allah's wife, Princess Nafisa, the mother, Princess Abadiya, the aunt, other members of the Iraqi royal family, and several servants were killed as they were leaving the palace. With their demise, the Iraqi Hashemite dynasty ended. Okay, so, sorry, there's just all these distractions. The garbage can man came, so anyway, let's abandon that. So I read to you the 1950s wall in Iraq. Who put the in ancient urban civilization as we know it in Iraq? The importance of the two rivers, the emergence of the building rocks of future empires. The story of Iraq begins with the two rivers, the Tigris and Euphrates. From the bounty of these two rivers can attribute the earliest writing, the development of the wheel, and many other features of modern civilization that we still rely on. All of it took place where Iraq is today. And then that's where it leads to Mesopotamia over 5,000 years ago. Some of the earliest known cities, including Lagash, Uruk, emerged in what is now Iraq. So this just talks about how archaeologists and other scholars continue to debate exactly where the earliest urban civilization emerged. Some scholars believe urban life appeared at Jericho, hundreds of miles to the west, even earlier than in Mesopotamia. It is impossible to deny, though, civilization that came out of what is now Iraq is among the oldest and was certainly more influential than any that came in before. So archaeologists digging on the site of Jericho in the 50s, hoping to find evidence of the walls whose collapsed in the Bible in Joshua 20, realized there were walls older than the ones assumed to have been built in biblical times. They found evidence of 20-foot-high walls that were built in 8000 BCE, before the pyramids, before Egypt, and before the first temples in Mesopotamia. I don't know. Okay, so they're talking about this region was basically a desert, old Iraq, like ancient Iraq. And yet these two rivers and the silt that deposited along the banks, the Tigris and the Euphrates, grew food for them in the northern parts of Mesopotamia at the head of the Persian Gulf, and the region between them is a great place to grow food. So little is known about the Sumerian origins. A great deal is known about their accomplishments. Sumerians invented cuneiform writing and words on clay tablets. So many distractions, you guys. Okay. So that was a tidbit about the history of Iraq, that Mesopotamia came out of there. Okay, so there is a film going around on YouTube about this amazing film. Shows what Iraq was like in the 50s before decades of conflict. Decline. So it's called Ageless Iraq is one of them, shot in the 50s to introduce a new country to the world, one that hasn't forgotten the glories of its history. Since this movie was made, Iraq has been the site of repeated conflict and atrocities, chemical warfare, sectarian violence, a U.S.-led invasion, and now ISIS blitz across the country. Many observers wonder whether Iraq will be able to survive as a single coherent political unit. You can watch the film here and here. Ageless Iraq is no longer a remote, isolated country. Today, she is a main junction linking the East and the West, as the European tourists are meant to prove. And it shows an old picture. Ageless Iraq emphasizes the country's budding modernity, which is presented as a straightforward boon imported from a more advanced Western world. This is an old picture of a police force keeping Baghdad running safely. I don't know how you guys, if you can even view these pictures that good. They look like they're in black. All the soldiers are black. Or in black. Here's an old picture of a bus moving around in Iraq. Here's what Baghdad's waterfront looks like in the 50s. Here's the mosque, the Shiite Al-Qahidamiyya mosque in the foreground. Horse racing has apparently also arrived in Baghdad in the 50s, with horses descended from 3 British purebreds brought from the UK over 2 centuries earlier. Here's a view of the grandstand on race day. A film soon leaves Baghdad to explore the natural wonders of Mesopotamia, the fertile region between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. Legendary waterways are credited with making the deserts of Iraq hospitable. The film gushes about Iraq's agricultural riches. With water, man has made the desert green with grain and vegetables rich with spices and dates for all the world. There's a sunflower. Harvesting sunflowers. Old Ageless Iraq also takes viewers to the Kurdish north, where the narrator Narrator can't resist a biblical comparison. When you visit their villages, you begin to remember Jacob and his flocks, or Rebekah at the well. Wow. There's the Kurds, farmers and hunters. Kurdish pipe. Anyway, you guys. Something's going to happen in Iraq. And here's the film heralds the ruins of Iraq's ancient civilizations, places where men first began to build and create a settled way of life. Here's the ruins of ancient Babylon. Then describes the era of a peace and learning that came after Arab conquest and the introduction of Islam. Mongol invasions. Yeah. So here's Faisal, the second king that was overthrown in a coup. So here is that Ageless Iraq. And look how it starts out. See the Sumerian carving that goes with the fish god.
At the center of our world lies the Middle East, and at its very heart, the ancient land which is Iraq. Two great rivers span its length, the Tigris and Euphrates. In the plain, made rich and fertile by their waters, the earliest civilizations known to man were born. Out of this ancient heritage, the citizens of one of the world's youngest nations are building a new life and a modern state. Ageless Iraq is no longer a remote, isolated country. Today, she is a main junction linking the East and West. Her capital is Baghdad, a name that conjures up all the romance of Harun al-Rashid and the Arabian Nights of 1,000 years ago, when this was the fabulous capital of the Islamic world. The tempo of an age-old way of life contrasts with the swifter rhythm of the new.
Yeah, so there's a taste of that. Those people getting off the train, that's kind of how, like, what I seen on the side of the newspaper. But when they said Arabian Nights, when I seen Putin had that woman tied up in the barn, and I knew that the person came along was a knight, but I knew he was a knight. He was like this, and he had this weird helmet on his head. But I don't know. I don't know if it was talking about Iraq, like an Arabian Night. You know how they dress? Because he looked really fuzzy to me. I just remember he was dark, and he had like old warrior clothes on. But anyway, you guys, I'm gonna end this video. Let me see if there's something else. The Baghdad Wall. I don't know, did I talk about this? You can look this up on Wikipedia. It talks about the Sunni district in Baghdad, Iraq. Construction of the 12-foot concrete wall began in April 12, 2007. And Major General William Caldwell, the senior spokesman for the coalition forces in Iraq, was reportedly unaware of the construction of the Baghdad Wall, saying on April 18, 2007, "We have no intent to build gated communities in Baghdad. Our goal is to unify Baghdad, not divide it into separate enclaves." Planners hope creation of the wall will help restore law and order by providing a way to screen people entering and exiting the neighborhood, allowing residents and people with legitimate business in while keeping death squads and militia groups out. Dawood al-Azami said on April 21st that construction of the wall had begun before the council had approved the American proposal. To sign a document to build a wall to reduce killing and attacks against Iraq and U.S. forces. I told the soldiers that I would not sign it unless I could talk to residents first. We told residents at Friday prayers, but our local council hasn't signed into the project yet, and construction is already underway. It talks about the Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki called for the building work to cease. Estimated 7,000 Iraqis engaged in a peaceful demonstration against the wall, carrying banners reading in English, "No to the sectarian barrier." Now, I know when all this started, I know that the Twin Towers, I know that we invaded over there, and just stuff has been crazy ever since. We've had Bush and Clinton and Hillary running around over there. Everybody's like, why is this happening? Why are we even in there? Our sons and daughters are dying in a war over there. And here comes Obama, and he's like, well, I'm going to, pull all the troops out. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And he's trying to go over there and do all this negotiating. And then Trump comes along and is like, we're not going to have this anymore. And just all this stuff is happening. And I just feel like the Lord's given us a warning. There are things that I don't understand, but I just lean not unto my own understanding and just trust upon the Lord and just walk in faith. And I encourage you guys to pray about this dream. And if you have any comments, feel free to leave them. And I hope you guys are having a blessed day.